back in Singapore once again. Karen's been taking good care of us and all our other Singapore friends, Hydro Harry. And we're going to talk about combining pendulum and spin in a wall plane leading to anti-spin floating up while other poi pendulums down thing. She's going to take control of this one. Ready?
It needs a name. We need a name for that one.
Yeah, so you can help us with that, finding a name for this.
What he means is this thing. But before we get to that, there's a whole bunch of things we can do first. A whole load of other stuff that we can play with. And the idea is to play with like a spin and a pendulum. And the pendulum is currently on top. So swinging from side to side. And I'm looking to have the poi heads meeting in the middle here. So I've got my hand close to my belly when I held the spinning poi, and the pendulum hand is directly above my head. And you want them to also meet along this center line, so you can't see my face. All right. So spinning from side to side, and you want to also have this relationship between the poi where you have 2 pendulum swings to every 2 spinning poi revolutions, or 2 circles. 2 circles, 2 pendulums, right? The other thing to notice is that with each pendulum swing, this blue poi is changing direction. So at either point, I could take it into a spin, and I'm in split time same direction. Or I could take the other pendulum into split time opposites. So play with that a bit. And go from see if you can go from split time opposites to split time same direction. And work it up to the point where you can go 1 and then the other, then 1 and then the other. And you probably want to change arms after that, because you might find that one arm's trying to fall off. So have a go with the other arm. So once you can do both arms on top, spinning in opposites and same direction, you can pick one and take your arms around to switch which one is on top while still spinning. And then switch again, and once again, switch the arm on top. If you keep switching from opposites to same direction, you'll go through all the variations. So I'll do that again. I've got outwards opposites, turning through anti-spin, inwards opposites, and turning through in-spin. Once you've got the pendulum on top, take a look at the poi heads, and you can see how they sort of come together and meet in the middle. Ideally when both poi are straight or vertical. And you can see they're going together in the same direction, together from one side, and then the other way they're going opposed, 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 together, opposed, together, opposed. The strange thing about this one is that when the poi heads are going together, together, if you continue the pendulum into a circle, you end up in opposites. And if you if you continue direction with the pendulum into spin when they're going opposed, you end up in same direction. So we're calling it together and opposed, but don't let this confuse you too much. Just think about which way the poi heads are going. So coming back to the pattern we were talking about at the beginning, which still needs a name. If I slow it down and break it down a bit, you can see that the poi heads are going together and then opposed, together and then opposed. And as they oppose, I drop the pendulum out and bring the bottom poi up. So we break this down to one arm, like a pendulum on top, and as it swings out to its own side, I drop it down and make a circle. And then I spin it up through anti-spin and drop it into a pendulum. So the whole pattern with one poi would be climbing anti-spin, dropping down a pendulum. Notice that I'm not using the more conventional side petal here that you would for a 4-petal diamond anti-spin flower. It's more like the square anti-spin flower petals, one down here and one up here, and then dropping into a pendulum. But I'm still aiming to go from my center line here, out, up, and back into my center line. Out, up, and back into my center line. Let's do the whole thing continuously. So you want to try and get this pattern obviously with both arms separately before trying them together. But when you try it together, there's a couple of things we've been playing with to try and make it easier to figure out and make sure you're doing the right pattern. So we're going to come back to this together, opposed, together, opposed. And in the pattern, it's going to do both of these. It's going to go together, opposed, and out. Together, opposed, and out. So when you try with both poi, start like with something like this, with the pendulum on top of the spin, and go together, opposed, and out. Together, oops, I did that wrong. Together, opposed, and out. Together, opposed, and out. And really focus on these points. Together, oppose, and out. But you might want to focus on the anti-spin climbing up. And climbing up. Oppose and out, 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 climbing up. Often when I'm doing this or playing with this, I'm using as much full extension of arms as possible. And this eventually is a nice thing to work up to, but you don't have to do that now. You can make a much smaller, in fact it's nice to have contrast sometimes if you want to. Much smaller version. Also with the changing which hand is on top. It doesn't have to be a full arm circle. But eventually it'd be good to work up to it. Other points on really mastering this this move, I like to think about the anti-spin as coming out to the side and up and then in. And what I'm looking to do is follow the line of my body with the poi head as it comes up. So it goes out, up, and in. And the poi head really traces the line of my body as it comes up. Gives a nice definition to your pattern. So if you've already got this pattern, there's a couple of things you can work towards. So, yeah. Another thing to think about while you're doing this is that full extension of arms can mean a couple of different things. You can extend it straight up and straight down, or straight out in front of you. What I've seen a couple of times is people extend their arms and it feels like they're extending their arms, but it's more like here. And the more you push your arms out in front of you, the harder it is to know whether one is further out or further back. So Nick likes to use spinning up against a wall quite a lot. And you can use this for this as well. So if you go and stand up against a wall and do this pattern, and try and make sure that your arms are extending not quite straight up and straight down because you'll hit yourself, but as close to your body as you can get. The other thing to notice is that this has all been with an outward spinning poi. So whichever poi is spinning, it's always spinning outwards. You could switch that and see what else you can find, but one of the patterns we found if you switch to an inward spinning poi is this one. Now I have only really got one meeting point of the pendulum swing and the spinning poi, and they're going opposed, and opposed, and opposed, and opposed. And my arms are dropping out to the same side, same as each other. So left, both right, both left, both right. So if you want to see this pattern and many of its variations looping in our looping video player, come to playpoi.com. And I'm going to prepare that now.